episode 16, Why Assumption is the Mother of All Fuckups.
You're listening to the very best podcast in the world on health, wealth, and happiness. Please remember to leave a review and share with all your friends and family. And here is your host, Lars Hilser.
Good morning, good evening, good night to an entirely new, entirely exciting and enticing new week on the very best podcast in the world, Personal Supremacy Through Health, Wealth, and Happiness. I hope you've had an inhibiting, memory erasing weekend, and first emails coming in kind of make it clear that, at least for a lot of you, this exercise worked. Some gave the feedback that it felt kind of weird, and but still experienced some results. Others were very worked up because the event that they were trying to erase, or this development inhibiting memory that they were attempting to erase, was brought back to their conscious mind and did kind of, bring that bad memory which they had tried to bury back. And that's, of course, one of the downsides that you experience. I did mention the risk. For those of you just tuning in today, the episode on Friday, the exercise episode, which we always do on Fridays, was called Erasing Inhibiting Memories. And along with that came one very, pleasant email, I guess, mentioning again the request that this lady would like to donate because she was suffering from a severe trauma, and for her, the exercise had a significant positive impact. And she was asking whether it was possible to donate. It is. Don't necessarily consider donating to me. She insisted. So please, if you want to donate, and if you feel that the show is helping you, please reach out. I'll send you possibilities of doing so. Now that we've got the homework bit cleaned up, let's get to today's 16th episode already. So I'm thinking it should be about the third week. If you suck at math, and I don't know, life is insanely funny. That being said, today's episode is called Why Assumption is the Mother of All Fuckups. And the idea of the show goes back, close to 2 decades, I guess, with an ex-girlfriend of mine who would base a lot of decisions on assumptions that other people in her circle, including me, would think like she did or does. She's probably alive. So her entire day really consisted of assuming that things were done the way she anticipated them to be done. And of course they weren't, because people are different. That's like the number one lesson in life you learn, right? There's no two people that are the same, either by, in whichever way you look at it. Let's just make it as brief as fucking possible. And so more often than not, shit would hit the fan multiple times a day because things didn't work out as she had anticipated, because she couldn't be bothered to ask questions. Like, for instance, a brief call to her hairdresser that she was going to be about 15 minutes late led to the hairdresser kind of pissing at her because that it was quite normal that she would be late to appointments like that. So she was totally devastated at how the hairdresser would dare to talk to her like that after being blah, blah, blah. And I said, what about calling them, saying you're going to be, I don't know, 10 minutes late because enter your lie of convenience here, right? And she couldn't be bothered. And this would go throughout her day and led to her being more often than not insanely miserable. And we did really sit down and try and work on it, which yielded quite interesting results, in that she acknowledged that communicating rather than assuming was actually a way to go, but it was insanely difficult for her to make the transition towards becoming a communicator rather than an assumptionator. I don't know if there's such a word, but it goes to say that more often than not, you're going to have people a phone call away, particularly in these times, right? And it's so easy to pick up the fucking phone and just ask them. Or if you want to make a decision, a purchase decision, for instance, you're going to, part of it is, of course, emotionally driven, but you're going to do your homework, particularly if it's, I'm not talking about whether it's a pair of jeans or something. You've been sucked in by the marketing sufficiently to make an unqualified purchase decision. But let's say you're thinking of buying a car, or some of us are in the position to buy a plane. You're going to do your homework, right? And you're not going to assume that it's going to do the job, right? You want to know that it does meet your specifications. And this, for a lot of people, is very hard to transfer into real life. And let's go into the personality sector. So you're assuming that a person that you see has certain character traits, but you don't know. And there's a reason for that. Some people are very good at hiding their true personal traits. Other people are quite open about them. But by body language and the way people act and behave, there's a certain chance, based on your experience with other human beings, that you're pretty good at reading them. Some people are better at reading than others, but you know where I'm getting at. So that's a totally different story, because nobody is going to open up to you entirely and make themselves vulnerable immediately when they meet you. So, you have to kind of figure out where, how they tick, how they work, how they interact, and so on and so forth. Yet also here, it's insanely important to kind of get a feel for facts rather than assumption being the driver of your social interactions. I think there's nothing really more to say. Assumptions really just lead to disappointment, and disappointment leads to dissatisfaction. Dissatisfaction just spins you into this miserable life. And that being said, I think we're going to have a very short episode on Monday today, because there's nothing really left to say. So try and catch yourself making assumptions about people or situations or decisions. And then try and, when you catch yourself basing anything on assumption, take a step back and try and see if you can fill the assumption voids, let's call them that, with facts, and then see if that decision that you're about to make feels better, or if your interaction with other people feels better based on assumption. Whether it de-stresses your relationships, for instance, with other people. So rather than assuming that Bob is going to do X, ask Bob. Bob knows, and then you're both in the clear. In that sense, I think, again, enough said. Mic drop. I'm out. Preparing a very exciting episode for tomorrow, which is going to take a significant amount of work to complete. And in that sense, I wish you a good night or a successful day, depending on where in the world you are. As always, if you have feedback, be it positive or negative, please send it to theverybestpodcastintheworld@gmail.com. Peace out, mic drop. See you tomorrow.